Yep, working as the on-site man.
Full side, exactly.
Church, I've done this for 6 or 7 years, and they asked me if I would work.
Hell, we're gonna get started. I'd like to call to order the Tahlequah City Council regular meeting for Monday, May 1st, 2023. It is 5:30 PM. Could we get a roll call, please?
Councilor Long. Yes, here. Councilor Baker.
Here.
Councilor Hires.
Here.
Councilor Allen.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Perfect. For the invocation tonight, we're going to have Council Member Josh Allen lead us, and we are so excited.
I would like all of us to hold hands up here. Awesome. And so we're going to pray and believe that God is going to help the new administration, help us operate in unity. We're going to pray that there's any division amongst any of us, that God's going to help take that away, and we're going to find common ground, and we're going to learn how to move forward. And I'm going to pray that if there's any division, if anyone that's not in here, all the city workers, that we come together and really do some wonderful things for Tahlequah. Would you agree?
Yes.
Father God, I just want to thank you for bringing us all together here tonight. Thank you for the breath in our lungs. Thank you for the beautiful sun today. And God, we just want to ask you today on this changing of positions and shuffling around, that God, that you be with us. We ask for our new mayor, that you give her wisdom and guidance. I know she's got a lot to do, and it's a daunting task. And God, we just know that without you, we can do nothing. Through you, all things are possible. So God, I just thank you that you give her wisdom and strength when she needs it. Give her peace when she needs it. And all of us, we're going to all work together. And I thank you, God, that I know we're not going to agree on everything, but help us find common ground that will benefit our great city. And God, I thank you that we are able to work with Cherokee Nation and all parties, Father God. I thank you, you're going to help us find common ground. And I know that we have such a diverse city. And I thank you that everyone in our great city will feel represented. They'll feel appreciated. They'll feel loved. And I thank you that if any of us on this council or anyone in our great city has issues with other people within the city that's going to cause division, I thank you, God, you're going to help those things to get fixed, help those problems to get worked through. I know so many times we don't understand how to mend fences or how to build bridges, but God, we thank you that you're going to help us to do just that. I thank you, Father God, that our time here leading and guiding, Father God, will be done with you at the center. And once again, you're going to help us. Every decision we make is going to benefit Tahlequah, not our own personal agendas, but Tahlequah. And I thank you, Lord, for that right now. In the name of Jesus Christ, we pray, and everyone who agreed said.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you. Now, if you'll join us in the flag salute, please.
To the flag of the United States and to the republic today, under God, indivisible, with each other for all.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, I'd like to encourage everyone to check out the monitors for information regarding video conferencing, and also for public comments. At this time, is there anyone from the public that would like to approach the podium and make a comment? Not to exceed 15 minutes total, 3 minutes per person. Anyone? Seeing no one, we shall move on to the consent agenda, of which we have numerous items. Is there any items that we would like to remove from the consent agenda? Mr. Hire?
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to remove item F, item R, and item Z.
Anyone else have items you'd like to remove?
Madam Mayor, I believe we'll move item AA as well.
Is that still correct? Kevin?
That's the-
No,
I think
it's Z.
Oh, okay.
Tacoma.
He had told me,
Tacoma.
I thought he said AA, but
There were
it's
the revisions. so
Okay,
Tacoma,
thank you.
Tacoma
So-
changed letters.
We are removing items F, item R, and item Z from the consent agenda. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
We have a second.
Second.
Any discussion? Do we have a roll call, please?
Counselor Long,
Yes.
Counselor Allen,
Yes.
Counselor Baker,
Yes.
Counselor Hires. Motion carried.
Thank you so much. Great job. Look at us. Moving right along. All right.
Pages down.
Not that that's our motivation is to get out early, but it does help. So now we're going to move into acknowledgement of years of service. Is Forrest Cobb here this afternoon? He is not, I guess, but we would still like to recognize him for 5 years of faithful service to our community. And we do have a certificate for him that will be presented by his supervisor tomorrow, I assume. Mark Manship. Mark, are you here this evening? Oh, look at you. Come on up here.
Yay. Woo, woo, woo.
Congratulations.
Someone taking pictures with the city. Mark. Yeah.
Thank you.
5 years is outstanding. 30 years is unbelievable. Congratulations.
Yeah,
We-
that's amazing.
I was notified the library will not be here, so we'll take a report from the Chamber of Commerce at this time.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Down just a little bit so I can see everybody. So the Chamber's got a lot going on. Month of May, we're closing out a fiscal year and starting to prepare for a new one. So our sponsorships will be going live this month. We're waiting until mid-month and we'll do what we call resales. So if you purchased a sponsorship last year, you have the opportunity to re-up and get first right of refusal on those again. We have a lot of them that like to have the same one year after year. So we like to provide that to our members. Leadership Tahlequah will also open up at the same time. Normally, we open it and then everybody starts contacting us interested. We take 20 to 25 per year. We've already got a list of 23 people that are ready to sign up for Leadership Tahlequah. So good response for the changes that we've made. We think it's going to continue to be an awesome program. This Friday, if you guys can, I'll send a personal invite to everyone here and in the audience. Monthly Mingle will be at Lift Coffee Bar. We're going to have coffee and breakfast, so come out, have a good time with us. Last month, we started a new thing where we have a different color cup for a different topic. We felt like it was a good way to break the ice. We had a lot of good feedback from people that attended. And so we're going to do it again. We've got some new topics, some fun topics, some business topics, so you can find some people there that are like-minded and help break the ice with those that are going to be in attendance as well. So we're excited to host that event this Friday, 8 a.m. at Lift Coffee Bar. Next week is a new event. Second time we've had it. It's one that when I started, I knew I really wanted to bring here that we did it at my previous chamber in Siloam, and it's the Honor Graduate Luncheon. It's an amazing event that we get to sponsor. We get local businesses to sponsor students, and it's the top 10% of the Tahlequah graduating class, hopefully soon to include Sequoia. And I'm saying it in front of everyone.
Yeah.
So we partner a local business with a student, and they come in and they have lunch with them, and then they get to introduce them to the attendees, and it's the top 10%. And so they're they're the ones that have really worked hard, and they've got a lot of accomplishments under their belt that they've done for 12 years. And so we're excited to get to honor those and the accomplishments that they've done, hear about their future plans, where they're going to go, what they're going to do with their future. So we felt like it was a good way to start bridging the gap between businesses and the community and the public school system. So we're hoping that that continues to foster connection between all of us in the future. And then, of course, we've still got our last legislative briefing is May 26th, pending sine die. If all the legislators are down there for that day, then of course we'll move that. But if everything is done by that day, then we'll still host it May 26th at Goye Village.
Nathan, can you remind me, what was the class project for the leadership class this year?
Bright Futures is the name of it.
Okay, Christy's trying to.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you want to come up, since you're a leadership class representative, I'll let you explain it a little bit more. If that's okay, can we take a couple of minutes?
A couple.
Yes, you have 2 minutes. We're putting her on the spot. She did not know she was going to be doing this, so.
She's got.
I don't
it.
mind. I'm very excited about Bright Futures. Bright Futures is a program that has been started in other communities. It is an opportunity to create a program that brings business people and business people in the community together. So within our school foundation, they have opportunities to reach certain needs, but they're also bound by restrictions through state protocols, financials, et cetera. So Bright Futures allows us as a business community network to band together and reach out to those children in need through the resource connections that we have. So if I have a young lady that needs a size 18 prom dress, I can't necessarily do that as a school initiative. Maybe I, as a counselor, go to my Facebook page and ask my friends for a size 18 prom dress, and I may or may not get that. But if I have a business network of people in my community, now I can reach out to Kimberly Butler and I can say, I need this girl to have a size 18 prom dress. She can pick her gown, and then we have a business group that will be willing to support that endeavor, whether it be financially or through donations. That's what Bright Futures is.
Okay, thank you.
It's really good.
I think I saw that post. Did you get the dress?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's another way we can bring the business community and the school district together. And it's tax write-off because it's a charitable contribution. We had it in Siloam through the school up there. They'd been doing it for 5-6 years when I was there, and they literally 5 minutes and every need got met when they posted it. So it's a great way to help students with needs that the school district can't provide.
So basically, all the money they raise goes to the pot to help fund those initiatives.
There's an initial fee for training and getting the program started. So that, and then whatever's left from all of the items that they take to get the program started goes in to start the fund. Yes.
Perfect. Thank you. Any other questions for the Chamber of Commerce? Thank you, Nathan.
Thank you, Mayor.
We'll get a report from the Tour Tahlequah. Hi, Gina.
First of all, congratulations to Main Street and all the volunteers for an amazing red. Absolutely incredible. I think everyone that I talked to was just beside themselves for such a great event. I know it was memorable for everyone. I know Chief King asked me to make this really short because I'm usually pretty chatty. And so I'm going to go through this really quickly. We had tons of visitors over the last month, and they were from everywhere. We had them from Israel. We had them from all across the United States. We had them from Germany. It's just amazing to see all these people from other countries back in Tahlequah again. That's always really exciting. We also did an invite, I'll call it that, for a group of 25, there's 25 to 30 motorcyclists that came in, and we did a 4.5-hour footage of drone footage and still photography that we're using for a motorcycle campaign that's coming up. And with that, during that whole time, I was able to schedule 3 more rallies for this year coming from that group. The group is actually called the Widow's Sons. They are an offset of the Shriners. You have to be a certain degree of a Mason to be able to be involved in that. They have an international motorcycle rally coming the end of September. There will be over 2,000 motorcycles come in from that. And we're also doing some poker runs with that. Unfortunately, it's the exact same weekend as the Cherokee National Holiday. So we couldn't keep them here because we're going to be a little busy, but we are doing some poker runs with that. We had a fantastic crawfish festival. Records were set with that. I think they ordered 3 times the amount of crawfish that they ordered last year, and they sold almost all of it. We had people from everywhere. I sat with a lady from Wichita, Kansas Friday night, and she even saw a billboard in Wichita that we had done for that. And she was really excited. She was like, oh my gosh, I saw the billboard for crawfish. We had people from everywhere for that. We had them from Louisiana, and we did a really tight geo-targeting, geofencing campaign on that, and it worked out really, really well. This was kind of neat. We were able to, through my partnership, or actually I'm on the board of directors for Green Country Marketing. I was able to get an ad placement for United Airlines, and someone sent a picture over to their mother, and their mother sent it to me because they saw the ad in the United Airlines magazine. So that was really neat. We're doing really well with our website numbers and all of our geo-targeting, geofencing, and streaming. Our #1 streaming channel right now is all the Discovery channels. So that's kind of interesting. So anyway, I think I'll call that good. Thank you very much.
For Tahlequah. Thank you. Tahlequah Main Street Association, Jamie Hale.
Good evening. Congratulations, you two. Thank you. So I'm going to make it quick because I'm losing my voice and I'm this close to falling asleep. So yes, Red Fern Festival, amazing success. We will be having our recap meeting next Monday to kind of, start prepping and preparing and going over all the things that we did right, things that we could do better. Could not have done it without our community. I saw several of you out there. It's over probably 250 volunteer spots. Some of those are made up, by people that are doing numerous spots. And then we had a committee of about 15 people this year. The city, thank you so much. For the Parks and Recreation Department and the City Sanitation Department, they were a huge help this year. We will have better numbers for you next month. Obviously, we don't have those quite yet, but I can definitely say that our expected amount of people was higher than what we were expecting them to be. Also, we have the Main Street Awards tomorrow evening. So we are hoping the Oklahoma Main Street Awards in Oklahoma City. So we are hoping to come home with a few awards for that as well. And we are also taking board member applications. So if you're interested in being on the Main Street board, all of that information is at tahlequahmainstreet.com and all of our social media outlets. We love having, a diverse group of people. I always say that's where the creativity comes from. I don't think it's usually very helpful when you have the same people over and over and over sometimes. So we love having that new blood, if you will, come in and help us be more innovative on the things that we're doing. So if you're interested in that, tahlequahmainstreet.com is the best place to go to find out that information. I believe those are open until the 15th. Today, sign up today. It's today, May 1st, I believe is the last day to do that. So you probably have until midnight. But thank you all so much.
Thank you, Jamie.
I have a
Thank-
question, ma'am.
Sorry.
The great shirt that you're wearing right now, do you have any left over?
We do. And I will say a little bit about this shirt. This is Jency's on the front of it. If you don't know Jency's Kitchen, it was the general merchandise store in both movies, actually. So if you've never been to Koalas America and went to Jency's, you absolutely need to do that. Brandy Donatelli with Sandtech actually sketched this. I kind of just said, hey, here's my idea. And she said, I've got you. And she sketched it out. So, but yes, we do have some extras available. And then we also have an online store if for some reason we don't have your size that will be open for a few weeks.
Anybody else?
Thank you, Jamie, for everything. It was a great weekend, and Moondance did a great job of documenting
They-
all the work that you guys put into it this year. I had to miss
Absolutely.
this year, but I did look at almost all 654
They are
pictures that were posted.
beautiful, beautiful. The hound dog trials, they got
Yes.
some great footage
Yeah.
of that. Yeah. So if you have not got a chance, go back and look through those photos. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Jamie.
All right, item number 6, discussion and possible action on items removed from the consent agenda. Item F, thank you.
So this is the 31 Dynamic Group LLC for the grant writing. I'm just not familiar with this group, and so I didn't know if we have somebody that can tell us a little about it. We've utilized the grant writers in the past for a plethora of things. One of the things that I know that we searched for, that kind of originally got us on this grant writing journey is we were looking for somebody that could administer our CDBG. Is this group capable of doing that?
They are capable. So this is a contract renewal, actually. We contract with 31 Dynamics probably about a year ago. That's why it's coming up. In that process, they have gotten certified in the CDBG administrator role. So they're fully staffed. I think 2 or 3 people in their office can do them now. So that's what we'll be using them mainly for is CDBG. We ask them to, search out grants for us for a variety of projects.
But it's not an exclusive, am I correct?
It wouldn't be exclusive, no.
Okay. That's really all I wanted to know. I didn't see that in the contract. And so just wanted to make sure that
And I
they were
think,
capable of doing that.
sorry, I didn't mean over talk, but I think Sheldon McGletto had recommended it as well.
Isn't this the one that Sheldon? had-
Sheldon went to Charlotte and then Charlotte's now gone to the Commerce.
Right. Charlotte
So that's why I didn't know this one, but
and Charlotte worked for the 31 Dynamics group. And so she now has stepped back from that group and has left it with 3 or 4 people within the organization.
Thank you, Taylor. Also, as we're looking at these contracts to renew, we've asked our attorney to compare the contracts with previous years. And Tyler, is there anything on this one?
Yes, Madam Mayor, the contractor in their previous contract for the current fiscal year requested a fee, was approved a fee of 6% for any funds the city receives for their efforts. In their proposed contract for fiscal year 24, it is whatever amount is allotted in the specific grant will be paid to them for grant administration. I'm sure there are some instances where that will be more than 6%. I'm sure there'll be some instances where that will be less than 6%. So whether that is a material difference, I don't know, but it is a difference of language in the contract.
Further discussion?
Most grants usually cap that anyway.
Is there a cap?
Most, I don't, without knowing the particular grant, I would assume there would be, especially if it's coming from the federal government, they do limit what those administrative costs can be. What that's going to do from grant to grant will depend upon that particular grant.
But we would approve each grant proposal in the related budget. So we would have the ability to approve that individually as we review each document.
so I have a question, because there's a couple of things that I think we're talking about, but they sound similar, but they're not interchangeable. So the administrative fee of the grant, I don't think you can write that into a grant. I mean, I think that is not something that you can pass along. So for instance, like when Sheldon gave us his contract, it said, in his contract, it specifically said, this fee doesn't come from the grant. You can't do that. You can't write a grant and then write yourself into the grant. You're going to write this much. But there's an administrative fee, but that's on the city. That's not on the grant writer. So like where you're probably hearing that is like an IDC cost, an indirect cost, but that would be the city's indirect cost. That wouldn't be an indirect cost. That's not like a fee for the grant. But I don't know about that the 6% just kind of admin fee to the grant off the top. I don't know if that's even like allowed.
Without looking at the particular grant in question, I really can't answer that question. It is a difference. Previously, they want 6% of whatever the city is awarded. On this, it's whatever the grant allows for. I don't know what that number would be.
Because I know Sheldon had an original contract, and then Sheldon's contract is actually basically what Charlotte used. And then if this one is new, maybe we should look at that old language and see about going back to that old language. Because just right off the bat, it doesn't make me real comfortable.
I think what you're saying,
saying.
I think what you're saying is correct. I mean, they are two separate fees, let's say. But I do know, like CDBG, for instance, there is a specific administrative value that is associated with those grant awards. And so previously, when we would use EODD, for example, that's how they would really fund themselves a lot of times, is through the grant process, through that administrative fee. In this instance, the 6% on the previous contract would have been a 6% on top of the grant award, regardless of what the administration fee allows in the grant, because some don't offer administrative fee. So that is something certainly to look into.
Steve, do you think it'd be more prudent to?
And I'm just not familiar with IC. There's the part I am familiar with, because that's the Indian development part. The CDBG, I'm just not familiar with that. And I know that it's very specific and in how it is. And then even the administration, I mean, you have to be a CDBG certified administrator. So maybe that's the part there, but I don't think that rolls over into other grants in a lot of areas.
Right.
Because most of those grants, you're not able to do that. But also if you're getting like a USDA grant through rural development or, through justice or wherever you're getting your grant from, typically you're not able, you don't have to have an administrator that, is certified through or.
Particularly smaller grants,
able to.
Let's say there's a $10,000 grant out there, they're not going to have an administrative allowance for that grant. I mean, it's unlikely. So it may be to the benefit of the contractor to relook at that language, maybe.
And CDBG, I mean, it's a block grant state, and it's just a way for them to make money, but that's a different day beside the point.
Is there any other discussion? Is there any action to be taken on this item? Any action to be taken on the
You
item?
want to table it and give us more time to
I
check that?
think it would be prudent to table it till mid-month, just to make sure that the language is square. Because I think that their language is probably written for CDBG, but I don't want that to be negative for other things.
I'll second that.
So let's I would just say maybe let's table it to make sure the language is square, and we can go back with them to say, hey, why was this language different?
That'll give you more time to review it.
Mid-month.
Was that an
Yeah,
actual
I'll just
motion?
Make a motion to table for mid-month.
I'll second that.
Any other discussion? Am I allowed to discuss?
Yeah.
No.
I just would be curious to see if you had time to take the past 2 years of grants and compare numbers to numbers. So if we were under the current contract, this is what we paid. If under this proposed contract, this would have been the difference in the cost. That might be good information to have if you've got time to do that. Okay. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Counselor Hires,
Yes.
Counselor Baker,
Yes.
Counselor Long,
Yes.
Counselor Allen,
Yes.
motion carried.
Thank you. Authorize the mayor to sign a lease agreement with Northeastern State University Regional University System of Oklahoma for future parking area located at 113 Spring Street. Any discussion?
I guess this is me too. Here I am, the one that wants the council meeting to go fast, and I'm the one that keeps bringing stuff up. So this is a part of the EDA grant, correct?
That's correct.
In my mind, I'm still not 100% on board with the EDA grant. And I think that's a larger discussion for us to have. And so my question, I guess, is twofold. Is one, does this action kind of force us into that direction with the EDA grant? Or is this something that we can maybe table or bring to, look at the EDA grant in a bigger, as part of a bigger discussion? And maybe that's something that we need to have just a special meeting with, to just say, hey, this is what we've got going on and let's talk about some ideas. But I'm just, and this is only me. I mean, if you all have different of opinions, then, share them. But I'm just, the EDA grant, as it's been presented to me, I'm not 100% for. And so I don't want to start implementing portions of that until I am cool with the bigger picture, with the bigger project, if that makes sense.
I have a question considering actual number 5 of that. Tenant shall, subject to the approval of the owner, demolish the existing block structure and construct a parking area. And this is to you, John Tyler.
Yes, sir.
That us spending money on property that is not our own, I thought that was considered a no-no, to be honest with you.
And normally that, and Councilman, normally that would be the compensation. It was reflected there in paragraph 3. We would be renting this facility for 25 years at $25. So obviously that is not a fair market rent for any structure over the course of 25 years. The exchange would be, we would build the parking structure and they would let us have it essentially for free. So that's the exchange here. That's the rent.
But at any time they could rescind that within 30 days or am I not?
No, sir. So paragraph 2 says the initial term is 25 years.
Okay.
During that 25 years, Northeastern, should they approve this agreement, should you all approve this agreement, would be stuck with this agreement in effect for 25 years. At the end of that 25-year period, it would be at the discretion of NSU to renew this term or not.
And do we have an initial cost of what it might be?
I'm not familiar, sir.
$25.
Okay.
We don't have the initial cost of what it might be to make a parking lot out of this. I assume that we're going to have not only have to demolish, but we'll have to actually make the parking lot as well.
Here it is. Yeah.
I find it kind of hard to fathom that we don't have an idea of what it might cost. And that kind of, it makes me a little jittery in the sense that not knowing what we're going to be spending and then going ahead and leasing something without knowing the original cost is probably putting.
Taylor, what's the deadline on using those funds? Okay. Any other discussion?
Well, worst case scenario, I mean, there's a cancellation in the contract, so we could lease it. And we could always cancel if we decide we don't want to lease it.
The thing is,
I mean,
but the thing is that at what time are we supposed to? What time are we supposed to, or what is the time that we're supposed to, or do we have allowed to make it into a parking? Do we have that ascertained?
So certainly as I read this, sometime at a minimum for the 25-year term, you'd have to have that built. So you are encumbering, you're expecting the city's going to do this work.
I feel more comfortable.
Any other discussion? We have a motion.
Make a motion that we table this.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilor Allen,
Aye, yes.
Councilor Long,
Yes.
Councilor Baker,
Yes.
Counselor Hires.
Yes.
Motion to table carried.
Thank you so much. Item Z, accept the resignation from Tacoma Maples, a labor operator in the street department effective March 27th, 2023. Mr. Smith?
I wanted to keep his appointment to the Tahlequah.
Okay,
That we asked.
Take no action.
thank you.
Can they actually, is the recording actually working? Because we usually see the people. Okay.
Okay, any discussion, further discussion on that? Do we have a motion? Okay, I kind of was on a roll there. All right, so then we'll go back to item 7. You're so handy. Thank you. All right, this is open discussion on a subscription-based trash service for Cherokee County residents living outside of the city limits. And we have the solid waste superintendent, Chris Armstrong.
Hello. Pretty much with the growth of Tahlequah, the automated systems, we drive by sections of town that is county. I've been getting a lot of calls whenever we send out our yearly information, like letter in the TBWA bill about the general use of the cans and everything. I get people in Hogner, Summerfield, Teehee asking, yay, y'all are finally coming out here. Can you please service my area? And I'm no, sorry, you just got mixed into the TPWA bill because you have a bill with them. So the way I work, anybody that receives a TPWA bill can have trash service, just depending on how far we go. And right now we have a general layout and these are the places I'm wanting to go. It's nothing far, like we pass these residents every day. So it's not a 10-mile west, 7-mile north, anything like that. We are talking blocks. We are talking 4 blocks to the west up there toward Teehee Addition, like right after People's Inc. We're talking 5 streets behind the movie theater. And we're also talking about some Willis Road behind Posties in that area because we cut right back through Willis Road, turn left on Park Hill, and we get the Berry property on top of the golf course. So we are passing all these people. And we as a city can also give them a cheaper rate than what they're paying now. So different trash services, T&K, Bill Stop, all these people are twice as much as we are. They are our neighbors. They are why we're here. If we can help them clean up their properties and we can help clean up our side of Green Country. So that's one of the reasons why I'd like to go to a subscription based. Fire, police, they're out there helping. So this could be another way that Tahlequah can help and clean up some of the properties around it as well.
Any questions for Chris?
Have you done any kind of studies to see, or, if everyone signs up, will you have enough help to take care of that? I mean, if everyone says yes, can you do that without affecting trash service for everyone else?
Yes. So as of right now, this will cost us $0 to do because I have the carts, I have the automated trucks. These will go out there and knock out those services because what I did when we started the automated system, I made it to where we have enough room for growth. So when Tahlequah takes off to the west or to the east or to the north or to the south, we have the option or we have the ability to keep up with the growth instead of being behind and working 12 hours, 16-hour days. So that's why we've moved forward with this automated system for Tahlequah to grow. So right now it costs us nothing. The only thing it's going to do is maybe take us longer to get to your house for that day, but we'll still be there within that allotted time.
Any other discussion?
Thank you, Chris. You always go above and beyond.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate it, Chris.
Do we have a motion?
It's discussion only.
Discussion only. We'll talk about it next time.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Chris. All right. Open discussion, keyword again, of the mayor and council open discussion and appointment of the council president from among members of the city council. That says that's me. So someday I might not be here. So I assume that we are to have someone that will step in the absence of the mayor. And is there any discussion among the councilors
I would love to nominate Stephen Hires because he's carried that torch for as long as I can remember, and he's a good torch carrier.
Some things I can do.
Yes, yes.
Carry a torch might be one of them.
You're our Lady of
not.
Liberty.
Don't put me in that group. I'll end up on CNN or something.
Do we need to second?
Yes, we do.
I would like to second that.
Yes.
Okay. Any further discussion? We have a roll call, please?
Counselor Long,
Yes.
Counselor Allen,
Yes.
Counselor Baker,
Astounding, yes.
Counselor Hires.
Yes.
Congratulations. Motion
Thank you.
passed.
Thank you all very much.
Yeah. And I'm leaving town quickly,
Yes.
maybe tonight.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too. Listen.
We got a problem. Open discussion of mayor and councillor expectations in regard to future agenda items, and that's brought forth by Councillor Baker.
Basically, the expectations on future agenda items. The reason I brought this up at this juncture is I wanted to express there are certain protocols that we need to adhere to, as well as give everyone a level playing field. And I like to say that myself personally, I'd like to bring forward issues like road construction, bridges, and being more transparent to allow the public to know what is going on with the city, as well as develop trust with other entities and agencies that we might work with currently and in the future. Now, I'm intentionally trying to be vague, but I also want to acknowledge with the sense of urgency that we all have problems in our wards, and I think the mayor put this best, that these are not problems, but opportunities to be addressed.
Yo, good answer.
And I would like to be more nurturing in developing a culture of working together, to hold ourselves accountable, creating an atmosphere of working together, and instill values that every voice should and could be heard, and be committed to creating something that is bigger than ourselves. So I've asked our city attorney to say a few words and be able to answer questions as a source or a general primer on how to go about it. And that regardless of experience, whatever that might be, that we all have a basis of understanding that we all can grow forward with. And John Tyler, would you please take the floor, sir?
Councilman, happy to. This is a topic near and dear to my heart. This is the Open Meeting Act. I think some of you unfortunately had to sit through my presentation. Ms. Shaw really carried the water on that. She was wonderful, and I just unfortunately had to be there. But the Open Meeting Act is the beginning and end of your future if you get to be a successful council person. If you want to talk about something, if you see something that is affecting your constituents, call Ms. Shaw. She'll get it on the agenda. There is a time limit for that, so just be aware. We can't do it at the very last second. So if you something that is on your mind, you want to talk about and take some action on, give us a call. We will make sure we get it on the agenda. Even if you don't know how to word it, just say, here's the thing I want to talk about. Ms. Shaw and I will get together. We will massage it. We will make sure that we can talk about and take action on the thing that is near and dear to your heart. But get it on the agenda, whatever the case might be. We will be happy to talk about it. I know I speak for all city staff when I say this. We will be happy to effectuate your vision. Let us know what's on your mind, and we will be happy to take care of that.
Now, I believe we actually have our approved handbook that we voted on.
That's correct.
And so Josh, have you been given a copy of that yet?
No.
Okay. So Steve, actually, I can't remember when we voted on that. Was that a year? 2000. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe I should go home.
No.
Okay. I felt like we discussed that since Keith had been on council. For some reason, did we discuss the revisions to the handbook, the council handbook?
Adhere to, our charter as well as,
I could have sworn we updated that not long ago. I guess I'm confused. I'm sorry.
It was actually part of the orientation package that you received.
Come forward, please, Belinda. Sorry.
Yes, I have that.
You do have it. Okay.
Yes, I've got
Okay.
that.
You got it today, I bet.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've
Okay.
got
And
it.
you haven't read that?
Yeah.
No, I just wanted to let both of you know that the handbook that was adopted by this body for their procedures was part of your orientation handbook that you received
Okay.
prior to
Elections.
the election.
Yeah.
And have we not touched that really since 2018?
No, it was later than that.
Okay. So I'm not crazy? Thank you.
On this
I'll hug
point,
you
you're not
later. Thank
crazy.
you.
On this one, you're
Okay,
fine.
thank you.
Yeah,
Okay.
next one is close. All right.
So any questions? You all want to know what you all want, so it's staff can.
I will say this, could you speak, because when we went through that orientation, one thing that really I was surprised by, because I know that I spoke to a lot of constituents when I was knocking on doors, frustrated, feeling like some that had come to a meeting and they just wanted to bring something up and they wanted us to talk about it right then and there. And you said you were talking about how that worked. And I thought, man, if we really need to talk about that more with people that come to a meeting so that they understand that we're bound by law, that we can't talk back and forth about items that are not on the agenda. Could you just summarize that for?
So I'll draw council's attention to your item number 3 and on all of our agendas is public comments. We are obviously welcoming of the citizenry to come forward and express their concerns, their frustrations. This is their opportunity. This is their chance to see their collective representatives. For better or for worse, the legislature has given us the Oklahoma Open Meeting Act, and it says we can only discuss those items that are on the agenda. So while the public is free to discuss whatever's on their mind, tell us their concerns, we want to hear from them, we are not permitted, or you all are not permitted to engage in a back and forth dialogue. You're not allowed to vote on what those things are. And that is frustrating to the citizen. They've worked typically a long day. They've come to this meeting. They expect to get some recompense for whatever their justifiable concern is. And it's frustrating to have 5 blank faces just stare back out at them. We're not trying to be jerks. We're not trying to not think that your thing is not important. We recognize it very likely is exceptionally important. The law does not permit us to discuss things that are not on the agenda. So what I think a good practice would be if a citizen does come forward, if the ward councilman for their area would get with them after the meeting, that could be an opportunity to say, let's get this on the next agenda. Let's have a fuller discussion about whatever that topic might be.
So I would just say that for public, anyone listening, that if you live in the ward, figure out which ward you live in and then communicate with your city councilor, and then we will talk to you back and forth and we'll make sure that we take care of whatever you need us to discuss. We want to make sure that you're heard. And I know that sometimes that was just some frustration, but I wanted that clarified. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
We move on then to item number 10. Discussion and possible action to approve with modification, or deny a waiver of the competitive bidding requirement of the city purchasing policy, and in accordance with City Code 7-105, accept the quote for a Hustler Super 108 Batwing Zero Turn Mower. Did I really read that?
Yeah.
Okay. And that is with Brian Speak.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. So I've done really good this year. I've saved $240,000 off of the Parks and Rec budget. So now I'm asking for equipment. So I'm running on mowers. I've got mowers that are over 10 years old, and with the way we use those all summer, they wear out. So I'm asking for, this is a $27,000 mower, but I did go through state contract. And then I also went through Arkansas state contract to see if I could get a better deal. Arkansas saved me $50, but they're going to charge me $150 for delivery. So that's what I'm asking for.
I have a question. How does this deviate from our waiver of, competitive bidding?
I think the competitive bidding was 25,000, up to 25,000, and this went over 2.
Madam Mayor, if I might, for those councilmen who are new to this, your city code says for any purchase over $25,000 must be accompanied by competitive bids. Council reserves the right to waive that where state law does not require competitive bidding. State law does require competitive bidding for certain improvements to certain public works contracts, so streets, sewers, water lines, like we are bound by those things. We are certainly at a level here that we are not at the state minimum. So it's in your discretion to either accept the quote that has been offered or to require competitive bidding. But that's why this is before you. It's within that area that allows you to waive competitive bidding. It's a Tahlequah specific requirement, not a state requirement.
And this was on the state contract.
State contract,
So it's,
yeah.
Any further discussion?
Is this a used mower?
No, it's brand new.
And
It's
it's a
about-
bat wing zero turn.
Bat wing zero,
So the 104 means it's 104 inches, I would
104
believe.
inches,
All right.
which will take the place of about 2 mowers.
And again, for those who just may not be aware, state contract, there's an agency in the state of Oklahoma called OMES, Office of Management Enterprise Services. It acts as a central purchasing agent for the entire state of Oklahoma. They will bid out or produce requests for certain commonly used items throughout the state. It's very common for cities to rely upon something off the state contract. It's already, anything on state contract has already been bid by the state of Oklahoma.
Lord knows mowers or something that
We've never
state
talked about
agencies
that
and
before.
cities buy a lot of.
Yes, we do.
I make a motion, we approve as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Did you say which one? Because there's 2 quotes.
I'm sorry, he said the $27,000 one. Right?
It's the Oklahoma State quote, so that's a 27,000. The other is WT Equipment. They're the ones out of Arkansas.
Okay. Sorry, our packets aren't page numbered, so I kind of lost them. Had it on the Hustler page. So do I need to reference Oklahoma State
Yes.
contract
Yes.
SW 196?
Yes, please.
Okay,
And that's your motion?
that would be my modified motion.
I still second. Yeah.
Okay.
Counselor Long,
Yes.
Counselor Allen,
Yes.
Counselor Baker,
Yes.
Counselor Hires,
Yes.
motion carried.
I'm
Thank you.
sorry, I did mention the amount in my motion, right? Okay, all right, thank you.
Okay, item number 17, discussion and possible action to approve with modification or deny establishing a school zone along Seminary Avenue from the 500 block to the 1000 block. Mr. Tannehill.
Thank you, Mayor. So this is a school zone request by way of the Northeastern Police Chief, Chief Bell. Requested because of the parking lot on the west side of Seminary Avenue and the amount of students that cross on a daily basis. This was presented to the Planning Commission, and the recommendation is for the approval. And just for general guidelines of where this is situated, essentially just south of the president's house on Seminary Avenue up to Seneca Street. So pretty good stretch there. And just for the council's awareness, in our code, it does provide some provisions and allows for some flexibility that the council can put into a motion here to adjust the speed limit and the time of day. So the minimum speed limit or the max speed limit is 20 miles per hour between the hours of 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. And unless a different speed limit or time is otherwise designated or posted, and we would take that direction from the council for any other time.
What is the current? I assume it's 25, having driven there so many times. Is it still 25?
Yeah, I'll defer to Chief Bell on that. 25, yeah.
For the other school zone areas around an issue, do you know, does it just a blanket 8 to 5 or is it from 7:30? You know, I don't know, classes start at 8, which is a little bit different than
Right.
a traditional school.
I'll again defer to Chief Bell on.
Any further discussion? Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Counselor Hires,
Yes.
Counselor Long,
Yes.
Counselor Baker,
Yes.
Counselor Allen,
Yes.
motion carried.
Thank you so much. Item 18, discussion and possible action to award or reject bids for project number 6001, wayfinding project to the lowest responsible bidder. Okay. The lowest responsible bidder and utilize the capital improvement fund for 50% of the awarded contract amount and the hotel motel fund for the remaining 50% of the contracted amount. Again, Mr. Tannehill.
Thank you, Mayor. In the packet, you do have a recommending letter as well as the bid tab sheet and a few photos, or one photo really, of the examples of what we're trying to achieve with the wayfinding signage. If it pleases the council, I'll just go over the recommendation letter. And so on April 18th, 2023, we held a bid opening and received 3 bids with the lowest responsible bidder or the lowest bidder being Geograph Industries Incorporated for a total bid amount of $262,922. Staff recommends awarding the bid to Geograph Industries, Inc. and entering into a contract for the total bid amount. It is also recommended to utilize the capital improvement fund to pay for 50% of the total contract amount and the hotel motel fund to pay for the remaining 50% of the contract amount.
How many signs is that going to actually be?
27 total out on the road and 1 prototype that they'll send to us, and we will inspect to make sure it meets our criteria.
27 signs for 262.
That's correct.
Any other discussion? Josh?
Yes, I know I'm new to this, and I know coming in, I want to make sure that, you know, I don't stop progress, but at the same time, I don't want to vote yes on something that I don't fully understand or, and I know that we've got a lot of bids. One of them is over $500,000, right?
Mhm.
So, that's a lot of money
Certainly.
to spend on signs.
Mhm.
And I think, you know, for me, there's a lot more pressing needs to use $250,000 for in Tahlequah than 20, how many signs?
27.
27 signs for $250,000. And I, you know, and there's another thing that I've, you know, where we're getting the money from, that we're pulling that from the hotel motel tax. And so there's some concerns there. And so I'm not necessarily saying that I'm totally opposed to any of this. I'm just saying that I would like more information before I vote on it. And is this something pressing that we have to do right now?
So you have 30 days to take an action on a bid after it's opened.
Okay.
So you could certainly approach this mid-month with some additional information if needed. Otherwise, if a decision is not made at the mid-month, you would have to extend the timing of the award.
Is there, is this associated with a grant?
It is not, no.
This
It
is
would
just
be-
something Tahlequah is doing
Yeah.
on
so-
its own.
Correct. So this project really came by way of not the previous administration, but the one before that even. I know it had been budgeted a number of times. It takes a while to put a project like this together. And so here we are today on the first meeting with the new mayor and council. And we have a project ready to go, but I do understand your concerns.
When was the funding?
I'm sorry?
Decided upon?
So there was some wayfinding line items in the budget this fiscal year, current fiscal year. And I think we're going to have to draw on some other items, line items in the capital improvement fund to meet that 50%.
Did we just miss our thought process on how much these were going to cost?
I wouldn't say that. This type of project unique. You don't have, you can't just call up a contractor and say, hey, can you make some signs for us and install them? So
yeah,
we did go through a process of hiring a consultant to put the packet together. So we were bidding it out equally with the same information to all the bidders. And they put together the packet and we sent it out and not knowing what the cost was going to be. Certainly was hoping for a smaller amount than what's presented today.
Yeah. I mean, this has been a labor of love.
Sure.
I've been here a minute and I understand, we've been talking about this for a long, long time. I think obviously there's a little bit of sticker shock, and I don't know if that's just on my, coming from my perspective, but then when I look how much we had budgeted in the capital improvement fund, which I think was like $50,000.
Right.
I was like, did we just miss the?
Well, at the time of budgeting, back in last June, we would have had really no idea at the time what that number was going to be.
Yeah. And then the other, I do have concern about the hotel motel tax and just kind of arbitrarily the city council, although that's in our purview, I'm not saying that we don't have the authority to do that. It's not our practice, typically that is something that we work through with the tourism council and we work through with the chamber. And so it's my understanding that those conversations haven't been had. And so I think definitely before I would feel comfortable about, spending that amount of money and then spending that amount of money out of those two different funds, I think that's definitely a larger conversation that we should have. I guess that maybe is the theme for the night for me is
Stephen,
a larger conversation.
as you're talking, I was trying to remember when we first started talking about this, and I feel like it was around 2016 that all this initially started. And we've kind of been talking about it. Multiple chamber boards and multiple administrations have kind of talked about this process and had wanted the money. Of course, we went through that time where we financially didn't have any money to do very many things at all.
This has been a topic of conversation, and to get us to this point. And I think that this is a good point for us to be at. I mean, and if you see the signs, you see that they're wonderful and they mirror our friends to the west, Arkansas. The east is us. Yeah, they're Northwest Arkansas. We're Northeast Oklahoma. But they're to the west. No, they're to the east. Sorry. Our friends to the east.
We moved west in California.
Okay. So our friends to the east, I mean, and this mirrors that. And I think that's also very good for our city, because then you have people that are looking at tourism and looking at what's happening there in that Northwest corridor. And now the signs look the same, and the way they're looking at viewing, destination and wayfinding, it all looks the same. So I think we're in a good spot. I have a little heartburn over the two funds and maybe the amount. I don't know if there's a way we can chop it up and do some now and some later.
Yeah.
I don't know. We can have that discussion.
There are budgeted funds in the capital improvement fund that will not be expended this fiscal year that could account for the total cost of the contract. So if there's any further discussion on that without getting into the hotel motel fund, Marty, I don't know. Right.
Yeah, there was 50,000. And then when I looked through, I saw some other things that obviously aren't going to happen.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
But neither are they're not going to happen by the end of the fiscal year either. So they'd have to roll over. And maybe that's just something that we look at. I don't know if we can bring it out of the capital improvement fund or another fund from the city. I think that would be good.
So for benchmarking purposes, I'm sure we could probably maybe reach out to other communities and see. I mean, we all know everything's went up. The cost of everything's went up. And so, yeah, this is pricey, but it may be the reality of what the market is for this quality of product.
Yep. I know Edmond just went through a wayfinding signage project, so we can reach out to them and see
That would be
what
great.
cost per sign was
That would be great.
for that project.
Yeah. Because I mean, we're not the only people doing it. So it's quite common practice to do the wayfinding signage with hotel motel tax, correct, across the state?
I would imagine it would align with the use of those funds would align with wayfinding.
Okay.
Well, I'd like.
Is there any other discussion? Do we get a motion on this item, please?
I would just recommend no action.
Okay.
That way
Well,
we can change it if it has to come back.
I would like to request, because we've got the 30-day timeline, if we go ahead and table it, that way we guarantee to have it back on the next agenda, correct?
Yeah, I would.
I don't necessarily, I don't want to table it because I don't want it to come, if we table it, it has to come back exactly how it is. And I don't want
okay.
it to come back potentially with the split funds.
Okay. But we could always,
So I say, let's plan on it coming back mid-month.
okay.
But
Council, it'll have to come back mid-month, as the bid opening was April 18th, 30 days from there. We're at our mid-month meeting. So mid-month, if it's not addressed at mid-month, the bids will expire and. Correct.
So, and correct me on if I'm wrong, Mr. Hammond. So if we still bring it back with this exact language, we could always modify the language at the next meeting if we wanted to change the source and use of funds.
From 50% to 0%, jump up to 100% capital or the other way around it.
Okay. Okay. You just want to take no action?
Staff,
Come back.
I think staff understands you want it to come back
Yeah.
at the mid-month. So no action is appropriate.
Right, item 20. Discussion on ordinance number 1351-2023. An ordinance amending Article 2 district descriptions and use provisions. Section 2.3, table of allowed uses. Article 2, district description and use of provisions. Section 2.4, bulk and area requirements. Section 4, development standards. Section 4.4, off-street parking and loading. Article 5, district specific standards, and Article 11, definition of the city of Tahlequah zoning ordinance. Mr. Tannehill.
Thank you, ma'am. I apologize ahead of time. I will be a little long-winded on this item since it is discussion. But I do want to point out the Planning Commission did hear this in their public hearing that was noticed and held last Tuesday. And they do recommend adoption of ordinance 1351-2023. A little bit of background: on August 16th, 2022, the City Council adopted a comprehensive update to the city's zoning ordinance. Since that adoption, city staff has been monitoring the code to see if any additional updates that may be needed. Through monitoring and implementation, we have identified some sections that need to be updated. These updates are intended to alleviate unnecessary burdens and provide clarity for staff and the building community. I'll begin with section 2.3, table of allowed uses. The use identified as transitional living center, reentry facility, or homeless center is proposed to be permitted as a use by right in the public zoning district. This provision is included based on the determination that the likelihood of this use being applied will be constructed and managed by a public entity. This use is currently a permitted use by right in the residential multifamily high density district, community mixed use district, general commercial district, and the regional commercial district. It is also allowed with a special exception in the local mixed use district and the local commercial district. Additionally, in table 2.3, we've included a use item for accessory dwellings. That use is not identified in the current code. However, it is mentioned in other sections of the code. So we're bringing it to light in our table of allowed uses, and we're modifying it to allow for accessory dwellings to be allowed as a special exception in the single family low density district and the single family medium density district. Anyone unfamiliar with the zoning code and the use table, there are certain uses that are allowed with a special exception. And what that means is the property does not have to be rezoned, but it does have to go to the Board of Adjustment for approval. It follows the same notice requirements as a zoning, but it does not rezone the property. So a little bit more flexibility for accessory dwellings. In our bulk and area requirements, we flip-flopped the rear yard setbacks for our residential districts. That was a mistake on my part. So those align better. We had greater rear yard setback requirements for the smaller lots and smaller for the larger lots. That's reversed now to make a little bit more sense. We also added provision to provide some flexibility on front yard setbacks. So in established or already constructed districts. So what will now be available is an average setback on a particular block. So particularly in the old part of town, we may have 5 lots fronting a street in one block, and they're all closer to the front, their front building line than the 25 feet or the 20 feet required. And so we can take an average of 15 feet and then we can issue that permit without having to go through an unnecessary variance for that particular block. That language was a part of the old code. It just didn't get carried over in this new update. For the off-street parking requirements, that section, we added a section to specify the location of carports I think if you were to read the code, you'd find that this would fall under accessory structures. However, we wanted to make it very specific. When people come to ask about carports, they can find it in this new section, and it's spelled out exactly what they need to do. And again, that language is part of the old code. It just didn't get carried over until this proposed update. In the downtown mixed use, if you were to read that code and take it for what it says, it requires all building types to be constructed to the front building line, to be constructed on the building property line, at least 70%. And we've added some language in here to allow for non-mixed use developments that are specifically developing only multifamily residential that are not fronting South Muskogee, that are in the downtown mixed use district. I know there's a lot of qualifiers there, but they would then have to meet the Vulcan area requirements or the setback requirements in the multifamily high density zoning district. So again, a little bit more flexibility for those particular types of developments. In the sections 5.5 and 5.6, we had some pretty vague language as it relates to the exterior building material requirement. And in that, it said the primary material shall be masonry, concrete panels, etc. But primary is a relative term. And so we put in the 50% requirement. So it's clear that everybody is required to put 50% of certain materials in those zoning districts. Previous code was 40%. Again, we bumped it up to the primary material intending 50%. And we're just making it more clear that 50% is the requirement. Lastly, we had some definitions that we needed to correct. So under the child care center definitions, there are 3 different child care centers that people that are identified in the code. And 2 of those uses were very similarly defined. And so it was, and the problem with that was one use was allowed as a special exception in a residential district, and the other use wasn't allowed in the residential district at all. And so for those uses in the residential district, we modified that to the daycare center, the actual use for daycare centers or nursery schools that have students of 5 years or under. We also modified the home daycare to increase from 7 to 12 children. And this aligns with the DHS state licensing allowances, and just kind of wanted to keep in the same vein with the state requirements to reduce the confusion there. So lastly, we included a definition for the carports since we added that to the code. That I'll answer any questions that you might have.
Taylor, I would like to commend you on this. It is quite expansive, but at the same time, I would like to go through it with a fine tooth comb, and I'd like to have, your tutelage, if at all possible, so we can kind of know what apples to apples or oranges to oranges and residential to, mixed use, because we never know what our decision how it might affect somebody 5 years down the road.
Absolutely. Yep.
So I would feel a whole lot more comfortable. I know this is just discussion, but I would like to have a class that we can all kind of sit down, not so much as if we have to on a Saturday or something like that, that I'll give up my time because I think this is a very important aspect when it comes to the city. Certainly. As to what its ordinances are. And I would love to thoroughly go through this rather than just kind of peruse it,
sure,
in this amount of time.
Yep.
Would that be something acceptable to everyone, or?
But just to clarify, this is vetted through the Planning and Zoning Commission.
It
right?
does go through the planning.
Planning and
Yeah.
Zoning, who's the committee that we established to do this, has already looked at it and they are agreeable to this.
That is correct. They did vote to recommend approval.
Yeah, and I have no problem with that. I just would like to review it as well, because just to take it blindly, to me, it is not taking the time that necessarily that we should as counselors.
Sorry,
Go ahead.
would it be helpful if we set up a time, one-on-one to go over the
Problem with that.
updates? I'd be
Great
happy to do that.
recommendation. Yes. And anyone else that feels the need for extra information can set up times with Mr. Tannehill independently.
You might let them know when the planning and zoning commission meets. Don't they meet right before this?
It's the last Tuesday of every month. So the
Okay.
Tuesday before this meeting, they meet.
Okay.
And as Mayor Myers knows, I've got a passion for
He likes this.
yeah, I like to talk about this kind of stuff. So I'm happy to do it.
Great. Any other discussion? It's a discussion item. We won't be calling for a vote. How good I did on that.
That's all.
Yeah. Thank you. Number 21, discussion on ordinance 1353-2023, an ordinance of the city of Tahlequah, Oklahoma, amending the Tahlequah City Code, Part 4 Animals, Chapters 4-1 Animal Regulation, Article B, Dog Vaccination, Tags and Tax, Section 4-125 Vicious Animals, providing for a hearing procedure concerning a vicious dog determination, providing for codification, severability, repealer, and setting an effective date. Mr. Hammonds.
Yes, this is an ordinance that we are presenting to at least allow but we don't have a really good set appeal process for the public in the event we have a vicious dog and we have to ban that dog, or that dog has to be put down for whatever reason. So this is going to be an ordinance that is going to allow us to have an appeal process that is viable for the public to use. Before we kind of thrown into the abatement process, which was difficult because if you go to the abatement board, then they had to go appeal to the council. This will do away with that and just go straight for an appeal with the council. It is a good ordinance. Attorney Hammonds has taken care of it and sent it to me, and I've looked over it. I think there'll probably be some improvements in the future, but this will be a really, really good start to where we have some teeth and some fluid process there.
Hopefully that wasn't a POW, a play on words on the teeth part.
Yes.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Related question, Ray. Is there a limit on how many animals a person can have in a residential home?
Yes.
What is that limit?
It's either 4 or 5, and I think it's 4.
Okay, because I tried to look for it and I couldn't find it. So I was going to double.
We've got a couple of complaints going on right now in that area.
Okay, I was just curious about that. Thank you very much. That's helpful.
That'll be part of this. It's part of the same. It'll be in the same ordinance area.
Okay. Okay.
Great. Any other questions? Thank you, Ray.
Thank you, Ray.
Number 22, discussion and possible action to approve with modification, or deny ordinance 1354-2023, an ordinance of the city of Tahlequah, Oklahoma, amending Part 9 licensing and business regulation, Chapter 9-4 residential sales by amended Section 9-402, license required, providing for codification, severability, repealer, and declaring an emergency. Again, Mr. Hammonds.
This is another one that Squire Hammonds had assisted me with. We had a problem with the yard sale, the annual yard sale that they have, where the council waives the fee. There is technicalities as far as being able to waive fees that are already set by ordinance. So we have to create an ordinance to allow this to happen. I spoke with the lady who is organizing now the free yard sale weekend. So we picked the first Friday and Saturday of June to add this ordinance that will waive that fee, or not waive the fee. It will not be charged those 2 days. No waive. It's just, there'll be a fee every other time, but those 2 days.
Great.
And that makes it easier on you guys. It makes it easier on them. It doesn't have to come before you every year now. It's automatically done.
I think this, the annual yard sale is such a great thing for our city. I don't know who started that, but whoever started that should be.
I don't know who
commended for their
started, but I
work.
think she's wearing pink.
Probably the only one in the room. That was during COVID, and thank you very much. It was a time to at least purge. Yes. Any other discussion?
Honorable Mayor, members of the council, the reason this comes forward, and this is something that you will hear me harp upon in the past, you're going to hear me harp upon in the future. The city is not permitted to give away its services for free. So once the council has established a fee for a service, it must be charged. Or the city must receive some tangible promise in exchange for not receiving that fee. So for example, if a fee costs $5, the city could exchange that fee in exchange for something else of $5 of value. But we can't simply say, we won't charge the fee. By changing this ordinance, we are saying we're not waiving the fee for that time. No fee is required at the time. I know that sounds like a lawyer's distinction, and it is. But critically, during that time, nothing is owed the city. So there's nothing for the city to waive. That's the critical distinction.
Any other questions or discussion? Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second,
Roll call vote, please.
Counselor Hires,
Yes.
Counselor Long,
Yes.
Counselor Baker,
Yes.
Counselor Allen,
yes.
motion carried.
thank you so much. Thank you, Ray. And then item 23, discussion and possible action to approve with modification, or deny an immediate necessity for the preservation of the public peace, health, and safety, and thereby declaring an emergency exists for ordinance 1354-2023. Mr. Hammond.
I will defer to Attorney Hammonds.
Honorable Mayor, members of the council, under normal procedure, an ordinance must be read one time. We wait to do a second meeting and have a second meeting where the ordinance can then be adopted. Under the provisions of the charter, if an emergency exists, the ordinance may be adopted at the same ordinance or the same meeting at which is introduced. An ordinance that does carry an emergency clause becomes effective immediately upon publication. Publication typically occurs within 2 or 3 days of your council meeting. In the absence of an emergency, the ordinance would not take effect for 30 days after publication. Given that we are approaching the first Friday and Saturday of June, we would not make that deadline but for the emergency. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions?
I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve as presented.
Second,
Counselor Long.
Yes.
Counselor Allen.
yes.
Counselor Baker,
Yes.
Counselor Hires,
Yes.
motion carried.
Thank you so much. Number 24, discussion on ordinance 1355-2023, an ordinance to close a portion of Wilcox Circle. Mr. Tannehill.
Thank you, Mayor. So this is an ordinance to close a portion of Wilcox Circle. If you read the legal description in the ordinance, it actually does include a portion of tract 1 in the Cherry Springs Estates. This is a discussion only item. The applicant is requesting the closure and I suppose an eventual vacation of the street for the area that's outlined in the packet there. So in order to do a closure, the city council has to approve an ordinance doing so. And it is brought before you today for discussion purposes and later on for action. The general purpose from the applicant is to, rather than construct an extension of Wilcox Circle, the applicant is wishing to front off of Ballantyne with the lots 5 through 9. And that's the general request. It is an unimproved street. And you do have a diagram showing utilities. There is a water line on the north side of Ballantyne and a water line on the south side of Ballantyne. I would recommend at minimum any easement be retained upon the closure of the street if there's utilities in existence at the time. Any question?
I believe we may have some people from the community here that might have comments to make. Do any of you wish to use this time? Sure.
I'm here on behalf of the Cherokee Nation businesses as general counsel. I'm concerned about it because, one, we didn't get any notice of it. And obviously we have a lot of property out there in that area that could be affected. And I don't think the lot owners got notice of it. Uh, I don't know we really just need to know more about it. I mean, if it's going to affect the value of the golf course, we got a problem with it. If they're going to change restricted covenants or do anything of that nature in that area, which is what I understand that the idea is they'll vacate the road and then make more lots there and reduce the size of the lots that are going to go there. Well, that would affect the value of the property and we've got, like, for instance, everybody in that neighborhood, to become a member of that neighborhood, if a golf ball hits them, they can't sue us and do a bunch of stuff of that nature. And so there's a lot of things that could affect us by this. And I'm just concerned that we want to make sure that it's not going to have any kind of effect in the future that would affect the value of the property or our maintenance crews or anything of that nature to maintain the golf course. And so that's my major problem is that I just found out about it. Sean Slayton over Realty gave me a call and says, Tim, you better get down there and check and see what's going on. And so I see it's for discussion, but I was a little bit not understanding with us having so much property out there and landowners have why we weren't given any kind of notice about it to begin with. So that's all, Mayor.
Thank you. Mrs. Flymore.
We have to
Briefly, talk mayor, I represent a completely different interest. I'm a homeowner. I live on Wilcox Circle, was provided no notice. We do have a homeowners association. So again, a discussion I feel that our group should have had. And I too share the same concern. I just want to know more. I'm not one to just openly object, just to be objecting, but if it affects my investment, the covenants that we all are required to follow, the current size of the homes there at minimum is 3,000 in the block area that I live. I've been told that those want to be sold off in smaller portions and a 1,700 square foot home be allowed to be built. If they are not held to the same standards of the rest of us who have homeowner fees and requirements to that neighborhood, then they're living on a golf course without the same requirements that the rest of us are, and definitely does hurt our investment in that property. We are a community. We enjoy the cart path. We walk that area in the evenings with our families. That cart path will walk right by those 5 different lots. And it will affect our peace, our quality of life, and our investment in what we expected when we made that purchase. So again, I would like to know more, and I'm highly concerned.
Thank you. Mr. Shepherd.
Shepherd, I as well have, as many of the homeowners out there, are my largest investment in that neighborhood. Bought in what was a platted subdivision. So those lots are platted there. My concern would be that the lots, goes through and if the street's vacated, maybe the lots get taken out of the plat of the neighborhood. Therefore, maybe turning 5 lots into 7, they would be meets and bounds then. Then you basically would be aligned with half-acre lots to get septic tanks on them. So my concerns for the property value out there, for the integrity of the golf course, and that it's not following the original plat that's filed. Thank you.
Daniel, could you address the issue of notification, if not, and anything else you'd like to?
Yeah. I'll try to do my best. I'll be deferring to council there. So my understanding of the notice requirements is the notices are required at the time of vacating a street or a portion of a plat. In this case, the council is only taking action to close, and there's a distinction between closing and vacating. And that distinction is closing simply is a statement by the governing body saying we do not see a foreseeable use of this street for traveling public, for utility purposes in the future. And so we will close the street for that intended purpose. In order to vacate, a lawsuit has to be filed in district court, and notices have to be given at that time with property owners and a utility provider that a hearing will be heard, and you're welcome to attend this hearing to object or be in support. And so certainly if city attorney may make some further comments on the notice requirements, I'm not stepping in his shoes by any means, but that is my understanding.
Okay, thank you.
I do have a couple of questions. Did we talk to the police chief or to the fire chief as to how it might affect them or their services?
That conversation, I did not have that conversation personally, but again, it's a unimproved road. There's, there's not a street as it, you and I know the street to be out on the property now. So if they're going out on a grass fire, they're probably not looking at where the right-of-way boundaries are as it is today, because there's no,
Was anything said to our street commissioner at all about the closing of this road?
I did not have a conversation with him either.
Okay, there's three people that I would think would probably be prudent to at least kind of discuss, because I don't know how it might affect them as well. And I'm not sure if they know how it might affect them right now. Is that something that you're willing to talk about, Chief?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Hale.
Honorable Mayor, members of the council, I am very quickly trying to figure out the requirements of state law on this. The state law code on this requires that a city has the power to close, and that's not vacated. And the distinction there being a vacature is a court proceeding that does return title of that of that underlying property to the surrounding property owners. Vacature is an exceptionally unique process. The closing of a public roadway does preserve the council's ability to reopen it in the future. Critically, under Title 11, Section 42-110 of the Oklahoma State Code, the process for closing a public street must be established by ordinance. As I am quickly reviewing the Tahlequah City Code, I do not see where we have adopted an ordinance describing that process. That's not to say it doesn't exist. I just, my 5 minutes here, I don't immediately see it.
Not.
We will try harder, Mayor, I promise. So certainly if the ordinance does not exist, we do not have the power to close a street because that ordinance has not been adopted. That ordinance presumptively would describe, you give notice to people within a certain radius, you must notify OG&E, the various utilities and the like. So I would certainly recommend we follow the ordinance if we have adopted it. If there are grievances with the ordinance as adopted, perhaps this might be a good opportunity to revisit that process. And if we have not adopted such an ordinance, now is a good opportunity to consider those procedures for the first time and to adopt such an ordinance. So until I can find that, I'm not prepared to say that we have followed it or that we have not followed it.
Okay. Mayor, since this is listed as a discussion only, and then Councilor Baker had stated that he wanted to hear from Chief Baker, and I thought I saw Chief King earlier, but now I can't. Did he leave? Is he behind the post?
Yeah, over here.
Okay. Okay, he's behind. Okay, sorry. I was like moving. I
Like he
couldn't
got
see you.
smaller.
Got really small. So if they want to come up and talk now, since this is discussion, that would alleviate Councilor Baker's concerns, correct? I
Mayor, I don't step on either chief's toes, but I think the most prudent thing first is to figure out, do we have that ordinance and has it been followed? Because if not, their comments, while I'm sure they would be scholarly and enlightening, may not be germane.
Next time. Is there any other discussion regarding this matter?
I tried.
Thank you for coming forward tonight, presenting your point of view. Appreciate that. Okay, looks like item 25 is a proposed executive session. So at this time,
So moved.
we need a
Second.
motion.
Second, he got the motion. I got the second.
Stephen? Roll call.
Counselor Hires,
Yes.
Counselor Long,
Yes.
Counselor Baker.
Yeah.
Counselor Allen.
Yes.
Motion carried.
8:37, and we will reconvene in regular session. Item number 27, discussion and possible act. Oh, sorry, I'm learning. Now, item number 27, discussion and possible action pertaining to the employment of Finance Director Alan Chapman. Is there a motion? Is there a motion? Seeing no motion, we'll move on to item 28. Discussion and possible action pertaining to the appointment and or hiring of an interim city administrator. Is there any discussion or action? Is there a motion?
I make a motion to appoint or hire Ray Hammonds, the interim city administrator, with a stipend of $4,000 a month.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Their discussion? Any discussion? Can we get a roll call, please?
Counselor Hires,
Yes.
Counselor Baker,
Yes.
Counselor Allen,
Yes.
motion carried.
Thank you so much. Congratulations, Ray Hammond. Thank you. Yeah. And then we need item 29, discussion of possible action pertaining to the mid-month council meeting.
Members of the council, we will need a mid-month meeting for the council to consider that bid. Whether we discuss anything else is up to the council's pleasure, but you will need a meeting to at least discuss that bid. Otherwise, those bid will expire.
So 15th.
Is the 15th good for everyone? Good for you, Whitney?
Yeah.
2 weeks from today.
Yes, that'll work.
Okay. Then we'll put that on the calendar, Whitney.
Yes.
I'd like to thank everybody for being here for our first hoorah and our first meeting. It was a lot of fun. And thank you all. We'll expect that every time. So,